Crethians with their forearms, Zolari with their telepathic coordination, even a pair of crystalline Vex who could share sensory data instantaneously. And then there was Jack. Jack Reeves sat in the corner of the prep room, his human frame looking almost fragile compared to the towering aliens around him. He'd been silent since orientation 3 weeks ago, speaking only when directly addressed, always with a soft voice that barely carried across a room. The other cadets had taken notice. "Hey, human," a Crethian named Var called out, his mandibles clicking in what passed for laughter among his kind. "Still planning to hide in the back during the simulation?" Jack looked up briefly, his dark eyes meeting Var's for just a moment before returning to the data pad in his hands. He said nothing. Jessica felt a familiar twist of frustration in her gut. She was human, too, and watching Jack's passive acceptance of the mockery felt like a personal failure. Humans had fought hard to earn their place in the Galactic Coalition, proving their worth in 100 different ways. Jack's silence made them all look weak. "Leave him alone," Jessica said, her voice sharp. "We're supposed to be a team. A team needs warriors, not ghosts," Var replied. 3 weeks, and I've never even heard him raise his voice. What use is a soldier who won't speak, let alone fight? The simulator's doors opened with a pneumatic hiss. Commander Thelis, a veteran Zolari officer, entered with his usual no-nonsense stride. His 3 eyes scanned the assembled cadets. "Today's exercise is different," Thelis announced. "You will face the Archive's historical combat scenarios. Random selection, random teams. The Coalition needs soldiers who can adapt to any situation, any enemy, any odds." The holographic walls flickered to life, and the computer began assigning teams. Jessica found herself grouped with Var, a Vex named Cryalis, and Jack. Var groaned audibly. "Of course. Your scenario is loading," the computer said. "Location: Kepler 442b. Date: July 15th, 2347. The Battle of Crimson Ridge." Jessica's blood went cold. Every human in the Coalition knew that date. It was the battle where humanity had made its stand against the Starry Swarm, one of the most vicious invasions in recorded history. Humanity had been outnumbered 50-1. Of the 5,000 human defenders, only 200 survived. The simulation began. They materialized on a red-stained ridge, the air thick with smoke and the distant screech of starry warriors. Thousands of them, their chitinous bodies reflecting the light of Kepler 442b's orange sun. "The enemy is 3 minutes away. Defensive positions," Jessica shouted, falling into command naturally. "Cryalis, can you scout their flanking routes?" Var set up heavy weapons on that outcrop. "This is suicide," Var interrupted. "The historical records show this battle was a massacre. We should retreat to secondary positions." "The scenario locks us here," Jessica replied. "We fight or we fail." For the first time in 3 weeks, Jack spoke more than a few words. "No retreat," he said quietly. "Never retreat." Something in his voice made Jessica pause. It wasn't loud, but it carried an edge she'd never heard before, like steel wrapped in silk. Jack moved to the ridge's edge, looking down at the approaching swarm. He closed his eyes for a moment, and when they opened, Jessica saw something different in them. Recognition. Memory. "You know this battle," she said suddenly. "I was here," Jack replied simply. Var laughed. "You? You'd have been what, 12 years old?" 14, Jack corrected. "I was 14 when Crimson Ridge fell. The Starry were 90 seconds away now." Jack's hands moved with sudden practiced efficiency. He grabbed a rifle from the weapons rack, checked the charge, and moved to a position that Jessica's tactical training immediately recognized as optimal. His entire demeanor had changed. The quiet boy was gone, replaced by someone who moved like liquid death. "Jessica, mark targets at grid 774, Jack said, his voice still soft, but now commanding. "Cryalis, I need enemy density maps every 15 seconds. Var, when I say rain, you lay down suppressing fire at my designated coordinates. No hesitation." "You can't possibly," Var began. "Jay Reeves," Jack said, and for the first time, his voice rose to a clear, carrying tone. Combat ID, Jay Reeves, Kepler 442b, sole survivor, Charlie Company, 3rd Regiment. Jessica's breath caught. She accessed her wrist device with trembling fingers and pulled up the historical records. There it was, buried in the archive. Private Jay Reeves, age 14, the youngest soldier ever deployed in coalition history. Granted emergency conscription when the Thari invaded his colony world. But the record showed more. She scrolled through commendations, each one more incredible than the last. Over 400 confirmed kills in a single day. Single-handedly held the eastern flank for 3 hours. Called in artillery strikes on his own position to buy evacuation time for the wounded. The Thari called him something in their language. The translation made her hands shake. The Reaper. The swarm hit them like a wave of blades and fury. And Jack met them. He moved through the simulation like a ghost, his rifle barking in precise 3-round bursts. Every shot found its mark. He called coordinates with machine efficiency, directing Var's heavy weapons to devastating effect. When his rifle ran dry, he drew a blade. And Jessica watched in awe as he held a choke point against a dozen Thari warriors with nothing but cold steel and colder determination. "Rain," Jack said calmly, and Var's weapons sang. The battle lasted 23 minutes. When the last simulated Thari fell, Jack lowered his weapons and returned to his quiet stance, shoulders relaxed, breathing steady. The simulation faded. They were back in the training bay. Commander Thelis looked at his datapad, all 3 eyes widening. Historical accuracy, 98%, the commander said slowly. Efficiency rating superior to the original battle outcome. Casualties, 0. Jack walked past Var, who stood frozen in shock. The Crethean's mandibles hung open. You're the Reaper," Var whispered. "The human who held Crimson Ridge alone." Jack paused at the door. When he spoke, his voice had returned to its usual soft tone. "I don't like to talk about it," he said simply. "The ones who deserved fame died that day. I just survived." Jessica caught up with him in the corridor. "Jack, why didn't you tell anyone?" He looked at her with those dark, tired eyes. "Because, Jessica, some of us don't fight to be warriors. We fight because we have to. And when the fighting's done, all we want is to be quiet." He walked away, leaving Jessica standing in the corridor with a new understanding. Humanity's strength wasn't always in being loud, being bold, or being proud. Sometimes humanity's greatest warriors were the ones who carried their burdens in silence, who bore their scars without complaint, who faced hell itself and simply said, "I survived." The quiet ones. The ones who, when pushed, revealed they were never prey. They were always predators. They were always reapers.